50 years ago this week, NASA landed Viking 1 on Mars and ran the first direct search for living organisms on another planet. One experiment returned a signal that looked remarkably biological, yet the official answer became no convincing evidence of life. Now, after decades of new discoveries, some scientists think the old verdict deserves another look. Did Viking detect Martian life and then explain it away? On July 20th, 1976, Viking 1 touched down on Planitia. Its cameras saw a dry, rust-colored plain. But inside the lander was a miniature biology laboratory designed to ask a much bigger question. 3 experiments tested the soil in different ways, while another instrument searched for organic molecules, the carbon-rich material associated with life. The most controversial test was the labeled release experiment. Viking scooped Martian soil into a tiny chamber and added a nutrient solution containing radioactive carbon. If microbes consume the nutrients, they might release radioactive gas. That is exactly what the instrument detected. The signal appeared quickly, rose, and then leveled off. In a control sample heated strongly enough to kill Earth microbes, the response largely disappeared. On Earth, that combination would look suspiciously like metabolism. But the other instruments complicated the story. Viking's gas chromatograph and mass spectrometer failed to find the organic material scientists expected around living cells. The biology experiments also disagreed with one another. Without clear organic molecules, the mission team favored a chemical explanation. Reactive compounds in the Martian soil had broken apart the nutrients and released the gas without any organisms being present. For decades, that interpretation dominated. Mars was cold, dry, bombarded by ultraviolet radiation, and apparently almost empty of organics. Then, in 2008, NASA's Phoenix lander discovered perchlorate salts in Martian soil. Perchlorates are powerful oxidizers under the right conditions, and their discovery changed how researchers understood Viking's measurements. Viking's organic detector heated soil samples before analyzing them. A study published in 2010 showed that heating perchlorate-rich soil can destroy organic compounds and create chlorinated gases similar to chemicals Viking had actually measured. In other words, the instrument used to search for organics may have erased some of its own evidence during the test. Later missions, including Curiosity, confirmed that organic molecules do exist on Mars. That does not mean Viking found life. Perchlorate chemistry, other oxidants, radiation-altered minerals, and unfamiliar surface reactions can imitate parts of a biological signal. The labeled release result did not show cells, reproduction, DNA, or a uniquely biological molecule. Its heat control is intriguing, but heating can also change reactive chemicals. A positive-looking response is not the same as proof. Still, the old argument that Viking saw no organics is no longer as simple as it once appeared. Gilbert Mevin, one of the labeled release experiment's principal investigators, spent the rest of his life arguing that the result should count as a detection. More recent researchers have also called for the Viking data to be reanalyzed in light of perchlorates, modern Mars chemistry, and the possibility that Martian organisms would not behave exactly like laboratory microbes from Earth. The real mystery is not a hidden NASA secret. It is a problem of experimental design. Every life detection test begins with assumptions: what organisms eat, which gases they release, how much water helps them, and what a machine does to a sample before measuring it. Viking carried extraordinary technology for the 1970s, but it had only one chance, limited instruments, and no way to bring the soil home. Future missions can do better. They can search for complex molecular patterns, examine samples without destructive heating, compare multiple depths, and test whether a signal repeats under carefully varied conditions. A returned sample could be studied by many laboratories, with instruments too large to send to Mars. So, did NASA find life on Mars 50 years ago? The honest answer is, we still do not know. Viking produced one of the most fascinating, ambiguous results in the history of science. It may have witnessed exotic chemistry. It may have brushed against biology. Either way, it taught us the rule that future Mars missions cannot ignore. Finding something that looks alive is only the beginning. Proving it requires every independent clue to point in the same direction.